Hello, welcome. My name's Peter Richards, and it's my great pleasure to be able to introduce you to the very first edition of Spotlight on Theatre. This is something which we're doing with Swan TV, and hopefully will become a regular feature, and you'll be able to tune in and have a look at us and see what's going on in the theatre scene in Swansea and the surrounding area. Throughout the next few weeks, we'll be looking at all the venues in Swansea and also telling you what's going on, who's doing what, and all the theatre gossip. So if you've got some interesting information, some interesting news, or you want some publicity for your show, then please get in touch, and I'm sure we'll be able to help to cover it along the way. But it gives me great pleasure to introduce you today to my very first guest, and well known to most people in the Swansea theatre scene, the doyenne of Swansea Little Theatre, Dreena Morgan Harvey. My very first guest is the doyenne of the Swansea Little Theatre, well known to most theatre goers in Swansea, the wonderful Dreena Morgan Harvey.
Thank you, Peter. What a wonderful introduction.
Well, thank you for coming, and thank you for being the very first guest on the show. At Swansea Little Theatre, of course, it's something you may not know, Dreena. I'll tell you this now, and that is that my very first steps on the stage were in the Swansea Little Theatre. Not where you are at the moment,
no,
but in the Palace Theatre.
Yes.
And that's going back to when I was a 13-year-old schoolboy in the Palace Theatre in a play called Escapade. Nobody has ever heard of the play now. So that's going back. I don't look old enough to...
No, of course you don't.
I played in the
Do
Palace.
you remember vaguely your parents, your mother being involved in some way?
My mother was in... she was a professional singer, but she started off with the Swansea Amateurs in the 1930s, and she played 3 consecutive leads there. Yeah.
I think I found the programme
You
with
did,
your
you showed it to
mother's
me many
name
years
on
ago.
many
You
years
did,
ago. I remember now.
Anyway, one of the
Lovely.
reasons why
Yes.
we've asked you to come along today, and you've been kind enough to do so, is not just to talk about Swansea Little Theatre, because we'll be coming and visiting you soon and having a look around the place in the programme.
We'll invite you, yes.
Thank you. But you've got a show coming on soon.
Yes.
And it's a very interesting show too, because I think most of the viewers will already know about Waiting for God from television.
Yes.
So tell me, I didn't realise until I looked it up that there was an actual accredited theatre version of Waiting for God.
Yes.
What came first?
Oh, the television series.
Right.
Michael Aitken wrote it back in the 80s for Stephanie Cole.
Yes.
Wonderful actress, and Graham Crowden.
Yes.
I like it particularly because it's such a fun part for the older, more mature actress. You know, the youngsters seem to get all the fun these days and galloping around stage, so
Right.
it's lovely. So I'm really pleased it's going to be on starting next Wednesday, because of course it was due to be a year ago and we were still hit by COVID. We had to call the whole thing off. So
Okay.
We kept the space open for a year. And cross fingers, it's going to happen next Wednesday.
And
so
you kept all the lines in your head for a year then?
yes, just about. It wasn't too bad actually.
What state of rehearsals did you got to before you had to call it off?
I think we got to about 8 days before.
Oh, really?
And it was an awful panic because we had to reimburse all the tickets.
Right.
Big refund. We cancelled the royalties because at that time we didn't know we would do it in a year's time. We left it fairly open, you know, so it was a bit of a headache. But we had 3 members go down with COVID.
Oh, really?
So
They're okay now, though?
yes, they're
Good,
fine.
good.
They're fine. So
One of the things I'm interested about with Waiting for God is I have never been involved in a show which is based on a television series, and I think it's very interesting, isn't it? Because you're taking on the mantle of a character, but the audience, I think, feel that they want you to impersonate Stephanie Cole.
gosh, yes.
How do you approach a thing like that? Do you do it as an impersonation?
I can't
or-
listen to that. I can't. I just
No.
have to do what Dreena does.
Right,
And
okay.
what's in the script. It was a television series, and this has been written. It was updated in, I think, 2018 with Nicola McAuliffe and Jeffrey Holland.
Yes.
So it is written for the stage and not for the clipped, edited little scenarios that you can do on television.
Yeah. So are all the characters in the television series in the show?
Oh, yes.
Good.
Yes, the idiot Baines.
Right.
Jane, the centre manager,
Yeah.
Geoffrey, the idiotic son.
Yes.
So they're all there. They're all there. It's a cast of about 7. So
Right,
yeah,
right.
it's lovely.
And obviously it's an original story. This isn't an adaptation from one of the episodes. or
No,
anything
no.
like that.
It's a new scenario.
Yeah.
The characters' approach to life and the lines are the same, crackling sarcasm.
Yes.
But the storyline is a little different.
Okay, just give us a little taste of the storyline. What can the audience expect to see?
Well, she's still as crabby as anything. I thought no acting required there then. But there's a little bit of a health scare. So we have a little bit of, good God, what's happening to our hospitals? Right. So it's a little bit more modern that way, She's still very anti-marriage. Marriage is pure bourgeois feudal bollocks designed to tie women to the sink and reduce us to the level of chattels. So she's very anti-marriage, so
Right.
others are getting married and she's going, what for? So, but it's a little bit of a health scare and a little bit of money.
Yes.
What are you doing here? Poverty, dear. So there's that sort of modern touch to it and that sort of thing.
Right.
But it's still very funny.
Okay, Swansea Little Theatre have done quite a few in the past of the television adaptations.
Yeah.
You've done Hello Hello, I think, have you done?
Yes.
And Dad's Army. And the audiences are good for those, aren't
They love it. They
Yeah.
love it. We've done, quite a few years ago now, we did Heidi High.
Oh, right, okay.
Dad's Army was not written for the stage. We had to adapt scenes ourselves to make it a continuous story.
Oh, right.
But Hello Hello, Jeremy Brett wrote a brand new stage version.
Yes.
And that flowed like honey.
Yeah.
Oh, there were no cuts and rushing on and quick changes. It flowed and every actor got a really good time and a good part,
Were you involved in any of those?
Oh yes, there was Madame Edith who couldn't sing.
You weren't Gladys Pugh, were you?
Sorry?
You weren't Gladys Pugh in Heidi High, were you?
No, I was, I've forgotten her name. Oh no, I was Yvonne, the dancer.
Oh, of course. Ah, yes, absolutely. Yeah, of course you did.
I loved it all, I loved that. So we try and do plays that people know because it's a fine line, Peter, between having really avant-garde or exciting drama
Yes.
that the audience don't want to see.
Yes.
So we have to temper it with a play they might know or an author they would know, somebody that's made a name. It's been, I think it might be 4 years by next year that we will be attempting an American, and it's written by Aaron Sorkin.
Okay.
Because he's done The West Wing since then,
Okay.
and he came to London to do the adaptation of To Kill a Mockingbird.
Right.
So his name is known.
Yes.
So you latch on to things like that.
Indeed,
you
indeed you do. And of course, coming up in the autumn, you've got, presumably again this year, one of the biggest names in Swansea of them all, Dylan Thomas.
Under Milkwood.
Yeah.
Yes.
And of course, Dylan Thomas was a member of the Swansea Little Theatre himself, wasn't he?
Yes.
Yeah. Can you tell us a little bit about the shows he was in?
He mainly wasn't very much with us, but he was a very committed. He was on the committee and decided on plays and things like this with Dylan. But of course, at the time, we didn't have the theatre.
No.
And we would rehearse in a little hall in Southend.
That's right.
And Dylan would be found more often than not in the Antelope.
Well, there's a wonderful story about that. I remember Nancy, of course, his sister was the member of Swansea Little Theatre,
right.
and she tried to drag him down. And right next door to the rehearsal room in Southend was the Mermaid.
Yes.
The Mermaid Hotel, and the story goes that he would go into the Mermaid and have a drink before going into rehearsals, and depending on the quality of the beer that particular night, he would decide whether to go to rehearsals or stay and have a pint. And he himself called this dilemma Muse or Mermaid.
Yes, I can believe
But
that.
you don't get those sort of dilemmas down
no,
at the Dylan Thomas Theatre.
No,
do you?
no. Look, we've got a bar on site now, but
On
not
site.
during rehearsals. No, we
Okay.
can't do that.
And this will be, how many times have you done Under Milkwood? Because it's an annual thing, isn't it?
I don't know. I mean, we've been doing that, 50 years?
Yeah.
Since the 60s?
But it's a sort of play that lends itself
yes.
to repeat and repeat and repeat.
Yes.
It's just a wonderful play.
Yeah.
Absolutely marvellous. Well, hopefully we'll be talking a little bit more about
Lovely.
that. And I know that the Dylan Thomas Centre have just started a new exhibition called The White Book of Llanrheagar, which brings to light some very interesting artefacts from Dylan Thomas and Under Milkwood, and we'll be covering that in the programme in a couple of weeks' time. And of course, it's good to know that in the 70th anniversary of the play's first performance,
yes,
that there will be a production of Under Milkwood.
Oh, definitely.
So
I've been very pleased to say we've had lots of approaches, and we have somebody who's phoned already in June. Are you doing Under Milkwood?
Yes.
Yeah. I'm phoning from Germany and I'm
Wow.
coming over if you are.
Really?
And we get a lot of interest outside the Swansea area because Dylan is so well known.
Yeah, massive international name.
And
Yeah.
I'm sure there are so many good companies that do it.
Yes.
But I
Well-
always remember the script I had of Under Milkwood, a very old script with a foreword by Dan Jones.
Yes.
And he always said the best Under Milkwood I ever saw was by true South Walian accents.
Yes.
Not put on, the true accents. I think that is what Swansea Little Theatre aims for. It's the authentic sound and the lilt of Dylan's prose.
Great.
Yeah.
Wonderful. So, look, thank you so much
No,
for
pleasure.
coming along. Can you just tell us the dates and how people can get tickets to see
Yes.
Waiting for God?
It starts now on Wednesday the 16th of August up until the Saturday, and it's available through dylanthomastheatre.org, our website, and it will also give you the telephone number to phone the theatre, so you can book tickets over the phone or online.
Marvellous.
Super.
Dreena, thank you so much.
Thank you, Peter.
Look forward to seeing
Delighted
the
to be
show.
your first guinea pig.
Good.
Thank you.
And here I am outside the wonderful Grand Theatre here in the heart of Swansea, a theatre which was opened in 1897 by the great opera star Dame Adelina Patti, and there's a plaque there inside the main auditorium to celebrate that event. And I'm here today in order to talk to Caroline Davies, who is the duty manager for the front of house department at the Grand, and she'll be talking to us about some of the many things that go on here at the Grand Theatre. And here I am on the stage of the Grand Theatre, the main stage of the Grand Theatre, with this fantastic auditorium behind me. One of the most beautiful, Michael Bogdanov, I remember him saying that he felt that it was one of the greatest Victorian theatres in the whole of the UK, and he's been to a few, so he should know. And here I am with Caroline Davies. Caroline Davies, the front of house manager, a person with an incredible amount of responsibility for running the front of house of the Grand Theatre. Caroline, what exactly does front of house mean?
Well, front of house basically looks after everything. It sort of does what it says on the tin. So anything in front of the curtain is called front of house, and we look after all the customers that come in. We look after their safety, their security. We ensure the running of a performance on a day-to-day basis, and we ensure the running of anything that happens within the front of the building. Be that from opening up in the morning, ensuring the building is clean, ensuring the building is safe, protected, anything that you should see within the front of the theatre, that's our domain.
So that really is a fantastic responsibility.
It is, yeah.
Because, I mean, the Grand is a huge theatre. I mean, it's got over 1,000 seats in the main auditorium alone. So tell me, you've got two auditoria as well, because there's the arts wing.
We've got the arts wing, which is sort of the newer part of the theatre. That was added on, I think, early 2001, something like that. Opened by Catherine Zeta-Jones, as you would know.
Right.
You were there.
I was there. I was there, folks. Yes.
And that holds a small depot studio space where we can have the likes of Fluellen Theatre Company, yourselves, in to perform. It's a lovely movable space, and by that I mean it can be used in so many different ways. Be it theatre in the round, any kind of way that you want to have a theatre, you can change it up. It's great for that purpose. We also hold things like conferences. We have classes coming in to do ballet classes, hip hop, dance, whatever. It's a real multi-purpose space.
Yes.
We also have 2 floors which we hold Race Council Cymru, and they're under the heading of African Community and Chinese Association, and they work within the communities of Swansea, bringing different people into the building that maybe wouldn't come into the theatre normally.
Tell me a little bit more about this, because this is a very new innovation.
It is, yeah.
Just tell me a little bit more how they fit into the building.
So Race Council Cymru sort of came to us about 5 or 6 years ago, and they hired 1 small office space. Now they hold 2 floors within the arts wing. And as I say, it's people who maybe wouldn't get a chance to go to a theatre or come to the theatre, and we offer them a community, somewhere they can come, somewhere they can, hold their functions, all that kind of thing. And it's just about being inclusive, really, and theatre is for everybody at the end of the day, isn't it?
Absolutely it is. Getting back to the performance part of the business, on a busy day then, with both auditoria going, how many people would you expect to have through the door?
So if we had a full house show, again, you'd be looking at over 1,000 people within the auditorium. If you had the depot studio, you could have up to 200 in that space.
So how many ushers would you need? Because ushers is your responsibility
Well, they're
as well.
now customer service assistants, no longer called ushers.
Right, okay. Old school here, you see. So,
they'll always be known as ushers, though, won't they? Yeah.
So customer service, how many of those do you have on tap?
So within the auditorium, the main auditorium, you would be looking at what we call 1 per door. And by per door, we mean doors into the auditorium.
Yes.
So we always have that manned by somebody. So if it's a full house, you have 6 within the auditorium. We also then have 2 spare. One of those could be selling merchandise. One of those is basically floating around just to help anybody if they need any kind of assistance.
Yes, because I was going to say, it's more than just tearing a ticket, isn't it?
Of course it is,
Yeah.
yes. We get lots of people coming in maybe in wheelchairs, people with access needs, and that's where we come into we help them with whatever those needs are, because again, as I said, we are an inclusive building.
Absolutely. So if anybody wanted to get into front of house theatre, who's watching this and says, oh, that sounds like an interesting job, where would they begin?
I would say maybe work with everything, work from the bottom up. I first started as an usher myself in a London theatre, sorry, get my words out now, in a theatre in London. And I was literally just selling ice creams, tearing tickets. Then I got a job in the box office, and then when I moved back to Swansea, I got a job front of house, and now I'm front of house duty manager. Yeah. So if you are maybe a 16-year-old, maybe go for work experience, ask to do work experience within the theatre, apply for an usher's job, just work your way up. That is the best way, because that way you really learn then how a theatre works. And I would say just have a real interest in theatre. Yeah.
Would they need any qualifications apart from the interest in theatre?
Your qualifications have been able to talk to people. Yes, I would advise anybody, work hard, get your qualifications, because they're always useful. But if you wanted to work within this environment, the only thing you really need to be able to do is to be able to talk to people.
Okay.
And to be approachable, and just to be pleasant. Yeah. And have patience.
Yeah, well,
you need a lot of patience.
That was going to be my next question, because, I mean, not every theatre goer is an ideal person.
No.
And I'm sure you get a lot of some rather bizarre incidents with customers, yes?
Well, we always say for every 1 bad person, you'll always get about 10 good people.
Oh, that's a good ratio.
It is, yeah. It's predominantly everybody is lovely that comes in. They all want to come in for the same purpose, to enjoy a show,
yes,
to have a good time. Yes, there is a negative side to it, and I think since COVID, unfortunately, that is a lot more prevalent. There are a lot more people who are maybe drinking a bit too much, and
really?
That does have a downside. But again, they are few and far between.
How do you deal with people like that?
You have to be very patient, you have to be calm, you have to not take anything personally, because you do get called names, you do get, things shouted at you, obscenities sometimes, and you just don't take it personally. You've just literally got to let it go over your head.
There does seem to be, only in the world of theatre, a lot of intolerance with people, more these days since COVID, I think, and maybe this is magnified in the theatre as well.
It's an unfortunate thing, is people just feel it's their right to be able to behave how they want to behave. But
I mean, would you ever be in the position where you have to call the police in?
We have,
Really?
Unfortunately, yes. We had an incident not so long ago where we had a fight break out and we had to call the
Oh
police.
my word.
Yeah.
Not one of my shows, I hope.
No. Fighting to get tickets, maybe,
Yes, of
but
course.
not fighting.
Oh, yeah. if only. But so that's great. They come along, and what sort of training would they need?
Well, we would give them, if they were to have a job with us, we give them in-house training. They work with one of our more experienced ushers. We basically train them on everything, fire evacuation. You can't train someone to be pleasant and to be chatty with someone. They've got to have something within them.
Sure.
But yeah, they can pick things up like that. They will learn that as they go. You sort of learn how to deal with people in different scenarios. Yeah. But yeah, in terms of training, we give you all the training that you need.
And is there a career path? I mean, if they love doing this, would they be able to maybe take your job one day when you retire?
You know, I'm 52, so I've only got 10 years.
We better edit that out.
So if a youngster were to come in, of course there is.
Yes.
There is steps up the ladder. You know, there is even as far as the general manager. You know, that's as far as you could go.
Yes.
But again, I would say have an interest in theatre, because that will be the thing that will keep you going.
Yes.
You know, you've got to have a passion for it.
One of the most amazing things that I've come across, you showed me the other day when I was in your office, the lost property department. That's incredible. I mean, the things that people... can you maybe
boxes and boxes of them. I think we could open our own Specsavers with the amount of glasses that we've got. You wouldn't believe, especially during Panto, people leave things behind. I had one incident a few years ago and it wasn't pleasant.
Yes.
And there was a bag left under one of the stairs in the Grand Circle, and it had maggots in it.
No.
Yeah.
Oh, that's terrible.
And we had to clear it up.
Yeah.
Why would you bring a bag of maggots to a theatre?
Oh,
it
was a bag of maggots.
It was a bag of maggots.
It hadn't been something that was left that was old.
It was a bag of maggots.
My word. Well, I hope they enjoyed the show.
Well, very bizarre. So, yeah, people leave all sorts. You know, as I say, we've got enough glasses in our lost property to open our own Specsavers. So
yeah, that's amazing. I'm sure you have lots of anecdotes about various things in the theatre, but what is a choice anecdote that maybe something happened which maybe will live in the memory forever?
It's maybe not such a pleasant one, but a few years ago during a performance of Panto, we had a child who maybe had eaten a little bit too much of the sweet variety and decided to be sick over the upper circle onto people in the stalls, which wasn't great, bless them.
No.
We then had to clean them up. We gave them T-shirts to wear because they were literally sodden with vomit.
Wow, that's incredible.
That was quite something.
Yeah, that sounds pretty awful.
Yeah.
So that's marvellous. I thank you so much for your time today.
You're very welcome.
And don't forget, folks, whenever you come to the theatre, it's Caroline or one of her many staff who will be there to look after you and take complaints as well as praise.
Of course, yes. Yeah, like as I say, you do have to, in my position, you do have to have some level of calm and patience and to just let things go over your head. But it's lovely when people praise you. Not enough people praise, unfortunately. They're very quick to complain, but you don't always get the praise.
Yeah.
But we love it when people do, because it means we've done our job well.
Absolutely. There's nothing like that, is there?
Yes.
An impromptu thank you.
It's like an actor.
Absolutely.
An actor praises
totally.
you know you've done your job well.
Totally. Talking about that, I meant to ask you earlier, actually. Do you get lots of members of the audience who want to get you to smuggle them backstage so they can see some of the stuff?
Everybody tries something.
Do they?
Yes.
Do they?
Everyone tries something. We had a group came to see a comedian a few years ago, and they told one of the actors that they were cousins of the comedian and that they were going around to see him. They didn't know him from Adam, but the poor usher believed them and went, "Oh, really? Oh, that's lovely," and tried to be ever so nice to them.
Yeah.
But they weren't at all.
They didn't know.
No, they just came off the street to watch the shows.
So it's a bit of a useless thing to ask the front of house to smuggle you around, then, is it?
Yes, don't bother.
Don't bother, folks.
We, as well as looking after the safety and security of the customers, we also have to do it for the actors as well.
Yeah,
so,
of course. Yeah, I mean, having been that side of the footlights as well, I know that, after a show, there may be a bit of silence and
I mean, most actors would happily speak to people at stage door, so we would just send them round to the back of the building, and it would be their choice then whether they wanted to engage.
Absolutely.
Or not.
And obviously, with some good shows coming in, what's coming in soon for the Grand?
Well, we've got some lovely kids shows coming up in the next few weeks. We've got Hey Dougie, which should be good. Tiger Who Came to Tea, Milkshake Live. Obviously, we've got Panto coming up. We've got a fabulous production, The Seagull, happening in Rooftop.
I'm looking forward to that too, yeah.
Good,
yeah,
I'm glad.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
lots of different things. I mean, that's the nice thing about the theatre, is that there's so much variety.
Yes.
That is something different every week.
Yes.
You know, it's always interesting. You never know what you're going to get from one week to the next.
Yes, and it's the biggest theatre in Swansea, although probably not anymore the biggest performance venue in Swansea.
Of course not.
We'll be doing a feature in due course on the new Swansea Arena. But how has that has it affected at all?
At the moment, no.
No.
We've got such a different product.
Yes.
That it doesn't really. The shows that they're getting in the arena are much bigger, much grander.
Yes.
So at the moment, no, it hasn't affected us.
Okay.
So.
Marvellous. Well, let's hope that continues.
Indeed.
And let's hope that the audiences keep on coming here,
Of
because
course.
it's such a fantastic theatre. It certainly deserves to be supported. Caroline, thank you so much
You're
for your
welcome.
time. That's wonderful. And this ends our little visit to the Grand for today, but we will be back looking at other departments in future weeks.